Hello, Peter. Greetings from Ireland. And hello also to the rest of the family, Patricia, Michael, Janet, Brian, and all the family members. Greetings from Ireland again, from Dundalk. I'm Seamus, and you, Peter, have been very much part of our value gatherings since 2007. You're like the elder statesman. You bring a sense of good humour, calm, and perspective. You've been generous in your support and gratitude, and we wish you well on your 100th birthday. So this slide shows yourself and myself during a visit to Kiltyban in 2013. This was the value gathering in Barmeath in 2007, our first gathering, and you can see in the photograph that all the important people were lined up in the front row, including your good self. This is Barmeath Castle, first built in 1400 and enlarged later on. Again, this is the Armagh contingent that were at Barmeath that day in 2007. Your nephew Brendan and Chris Bellew from Drumloher, her father was Vincent, Seamus Bellew and Patsy from Mulladuff, and your good self. Then in 2011, we were back again to another value gathering, and in the front row, Rita was with you this time, and there's yourself and Patricia and Joan behind, and then Bellew family members from counties Louth, Meath, Dublin and Galway. This is a tour of the yard in Lisrenny, and there's yourself and Patricia and Joan in the background. John Bellew, who lived in Barmeath in the 1600s, was born here, and that's why we went to Lisrenny that particular year. We won't burden you with too much history, but just to say, the Bellews came with the Normans into England, and they settled up in York, in the city of York, and William de Bella Aqua, which is the Latin for beautiful water, and it became Bellew. He was in the city of York. And the Bellews came then from there into Ireland to Bellewstown after 1200. And then 200 years later, they moved up the county, up from County Meath to Louth, and they built a castle in Dundalk called Castletown. And obviously in the intervening centuries, they settled in Kiltyban, County Armagh, and with yourself then in the late 40s, settling in Fairfield County in the USA. This is Dundalk Castle, built in 1472. So this is Oni Bellew from just outside Dundalk, who you probably remember from the gatherings. Oni was born in 1930, and he celebrated his 90th birthday early in the year, and he's in good health, thank God. So I suppose you could say Oni is only a young fella. This is Brian Bellew, who lives at Barmeath Castle, and Sir Henry Grattan Bellew of Mount Bellew, County Galway. And I suppose it's somehow fortuitous that you carry your third name as Grattan, and that makes the Galway connection, and it's kind of a coincidence that you ended up marrying a Galway lady. This is Rita and Brendan in Dundalk in 2013. This is yourself in action, the value gathering in Dardistown, County Meath in 2015, and you're getting into the technology there. And then we hope to see you and some of the family, perhaps next year, please God, in Bellewstown, County Armagh. So a little village called Kiltyban has been renamed in recent times as Bellewstown, and there's the signpost. So the two houses in Kiltyban, I suppose, encapsulate the history of the Bellews in Kiltyban. So your house is there, and next door is Joan's house, and the two houses were beside each other. So just a small little bit on those families. So representing your house, your parents were Michael Bellew and Jane Chalmers, and your grandparents were Patrick Bellew, Catherine Tumulty. Your great-grandfather was Andrew Bellew. Your uncle was Peter Bellew, same name of course, and he married Bridget Bellew, a neighbour from Kiltyban. And Peter owned pubs in County Louth, as you know, Kilcurry, and later on the Blue Anchor. So then yourself, you married Anne McInerney, and your brother Michael married Rita, and your sister, of course, Louise, married the next door neighbour, Frank Bellew. Well, I didn't know Anne myself. She's from my own county, Galway, and the McInerneys, of course, are well-known hurlers. And I suppose during this time of November, we tend to remember deceased members in our families. So we pray for all their eternal rest at this time. Then, of course, we said your sister Louise married Frank, the next door, in 1945. So your nephews are Brendan and Dermot, married to Carmel and Mary, and your niece Joan. And that's the next house. And Frank's father was Andrew Bellew and his grandfather was Christopher Bellew. So what's now John's house and your own house are next door to each other in Kiltyban, so representing that history. So I suppose Louise and Frank were possibly maybe third or fourth cousins. The relationship had kind of gone out. Then we mentioned Peter, your uncle who had the pubs. His daughter was Agnes and she married Peter Rice and they ran the Blue Anchor pub, and we were there in 2017 and you met your cousin Peadar Rice that day. Bridget was the daughter of John Bellew from a house across the fields in Kiltyban. And finally then the other house in Kiltyban is the house that Brendan now lives in. That was also a Bellew house originally, and there was two James Bellews in a row that lived there. And then those Bellews moved out, the house was sold, but the Bellew family settled in Dundalk, and one of the descendants became a famous boxer in England called Tony Bellew. And then in more recent times, Brendan brought the house back into the family, I suppose, as you could say. So this is you with Peadar Rice in 2017, the Blue Anchor pub just outside Dundalk, a place called Bellurgan. And the same day we took a spin out to Bellavarty, where your grandparents lived, Patrick and Catherine Bellew, across the road from the Church of Ireland, and we took a wee look inside the yard, and you were saying that the original house was kind of in there in the back of the yard, and that's along the main road out to Carlingford. And your grandparents, Patrick and Catherine Bellew of Bellavarty, donated this Stations of the Cross to the local church in Grange, which is just over the road from where they lived. And finally, here's a photograph of yourself with Patricia that day that we were at the Blue Anchor in 2017 with the hills in the background. And once again, we wish you all good health on this enjoyable day, and happy birthday again, and fond regards from all the Bellews in Ireland. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you soon.